I, 34-year-old female, have been with my husband, 41-year-old male, for 15 years and married for 11 years. We have a 7-year-old daughter. We have intimacy maybe once a year since our daughter was born. I'm always the one that has to initiate any type of intimacy. When we do, it's hard to get him to stay up, and it's a lot of work on my end. He's seen a doctor, and there are no issues with his labs, but he won't take the little blue pill because he says he doesn't need it and doesn't have a problem. My husband has always blamed our lack of intimacy on our daughter since she slept in the bed with us. I try to get him to go to a different room, but there's always some excuse, like he's too tired. However, he will go up to our game room and play his video games. Our daughter has slept in her own room for over 6 months now, and nothing has changed. His excuse is still that our daughter has slept in the bed with us all this time. My husband is a good person and a good dad. He works hard for his family, putting in 60 hours a week. However, besides paying the bills, he doesn't do much else. He says he's tired and tells me I don't understand the stress of taking care of the family financially. I work 40 hours a week, have a small business, take care of all our appointments, handle anything related to our daughter, and take care of all household chores. This includes laundry, cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping, taking vehicles for oil changes, doing yard work, mowing, and taking care of 2.5 acres and taking out the trash. I also contribute to paying the bills and cover all of our daughter's extracurricular activities. He seems to think that his workload and contributions outweigh mine. This past week, I checked his phone because he saves reels on Facebook for me, usually funny stuff and recipes. In his search history, I saw that he had been looking at sexy girls and groups, which upset me. I wouldn't be upset if he came to me for intimacy, and I denied him. I confronted him about it, and he denied looking at that stuff. But I don't believe him. The next day, he admitted to clicking on those profiles and groups because he's a man and likes to look. Lately, he has been locking his game room while he's in there, claiming to be sleeping. I know he's playing his PlayStation, and now I know he's also looking at these profiles. I saw lotion in the room a while ago and asked him about it, but he denies self-intimacy. I just hate being lied to. He accuses me of being a hypocrite because I watch porn, but I wouldn't watch it or take care of my own needs if he would be intimate with me. It's not like I'm going to a specific person or profile when I watch videos. I've been honest with him about self-intimacy and watching porn. I admit that I am a hypocrite, but I'm also hurt because it feels like he's not attracted to me or doesn't want me. He claims to have a low intimacy drive, but after seeing what he looks at online, it feels like he's just not interested in me. In terms of appearance, people tell him that he has definitely improved. I take care of myself and put effort into my looks. I'm not the hottest or most beautiful, but I'm not bad looking. On the other hand, he is overweight, short, and balding. I feel like I'm not good enough for him or don't excite him anymore. I told him that I want him to get rid of all his gaming stuff and spend more time with me and our family, or else I want a divorce. He refuses to give up his gaming and doesn't see it as a problem. He accuses me of ruining our family because all I care about is intimacy. I'm tired of begging for intimacy, affection, and his presence with the family. I do so much for everyone and never get anything in return. I'm tired of prioritizing everyone else's wants and needs over my own. I'm tired of begging him to spend time with us and do family activities. The only thing that excites him is playing video games in the game room, and now I know he looks at other things as well. We've tried counseling before, and it helps for a while, but then things go back to how they were. Am I the jerk and a hypocrite? Am I taking things too far? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I know the title insinuates gaming over marriage and family, but this sounds like it runs deeper than that. If it wasn't gaming, it would be golf or something else your husband would use as an escape from his family. It sounds like there are a ton of unresolved issues that have festered for years now. I think trying to establish a line of communication at this point is too late. I can't imagine not having constant communication about my partner's needs. I agree with others that this relationship may be at an end. Not the idiot. Good luck. Comment 2. not the idiot. This guy is a warm body in your home. You don't need him at all, and his lack of effort in every aspect is grounds for divorce. I understand that intimacy is the breaking point, but please look at the mountain of injustice you're living under. At the very least, stop doing things for him. He can do his own laundry, cook his own meals, and clean up his own room. I'd put a bed in his playroom and lock the door on your bedroom after you go to bed. Move his clothes to his room and the rest of his belongings too. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I just had to come back to update you all on the chaos that's been unfolding. So, after I found out about my husband's online activities, things just spiraled. I thought I had seen it all, but boy, was I wrong. Remember how I mentioned he was locking himself in the game room? Well, I caught him red-handed. I walked in on him video chatting with one of those girls from the sexy profiles. I was beyond shocked. I mean, I knew he was looking at stuff online, but actually interacting with someone? That was a whole new level of betrayal. I confronted him immediately, and it turned into a huge fight. He tried to brush it off, saying it was nothing serious, just some harmless fun. But how can it be harmless when it's tearing our marriage apart? I couldn't believe he was trying to downplay it. I was fuming, and in that moment, I felt so alone. It was like all the years we'd spent together, all the memories we'd made, they meant nothing to him. Now let's not forget that this is the same man who, when we first met, was the shyest guy in the room. He used to write me love letters, for crying out loud. And now, he's this person I don't even recognize. It's like he's living a double life, and I'm just a background character in it. But wait, it gets worse. I decided to do some digging, and I found out he's been spending our money on these girls. That's right, our hard-earned money that should be going towards our family, our daughter's future. He's been throwing it away on virtual strangers. I was livid. All those times he complained about being too tired to spend time with us, too stressed from work, and here he was, spending money on this nonsense. I couldn't keep this to myself, so I reached out to my sister. She's always been my rock, and I needed her more than ever. She was outraged, of course, and she's been helping me figure out what to do next. It's been a tough couple of weeks, trying to act normal for our daughter's sake while dealing with this mess. And then there's the issue of our daughter. She's been asking why mommy and daddy are fighting all the time. It breaks my heart. She's such a sweet, innocent kid, and she doesn't deserve any of this. I've been trying to shield her from the worst of it. But kids are smart. They pick up on things. In the midst of all this, I've been reflecting on our relationship. I remember how before our daughter was born, we used to be so in sync. We'd go on dates, have movie nights, and we were intimate more than once a year, that's for sure. But after our daughter came into our lives, it's like he just checked out. I've been holding on to the hope that we could get back to that place. But now, I don't know if that's even possible. I've been so busy taking care of everything and everyone else that I've neglected myself. And I've been trying to hold our family together, but at what cost? I'm exhausted, emotionally and physically. And now with this betrayal, I feel like I've reached my breaking point. But here's where karma comes into play, in its own subtle way. My husband's gaming console, the one he treasures more than our marriage, it broke. Just stopped working out of the blue. He was devastated, and for the first time in a long time, he had no escape from facing our reality. It's not much, but seeing him have to deal with the consequences of his actions, even in this small way, felt like a tiny victory for me. I'm still trying to figure out what to do about our marriage. I've suggested therapy again, but he's resistant. He doesn't think he's done anything wrong, and that's the most frustrating part. How can we fix things if he won't even acknowledge there's a problem? My ex's lies about reuniting blew up when our son asked tough questions. I laughed as the truth hit him and he realized he'd lost us both. My husband and I divorced because he wanted to move his mother in with us, and I refused to live like that. He ended up doing so we divorced. It has been 2 years since our divorce, and our child is 6. The problem is our child constantly asks why we can't be a normal family, and my ex always puts the blame on me and tells our child things like, "Mommy did not want me to help Grandma, so she left." which is true but misses the context, and he knows it. I was put in a position where I ended up taking care of a grandparent with dementia as a child. I swore to myself I would never go down that path again. The reality is, I was a stay-at-home parent. We all know sooner or later I would have been charged with doing the care. I was not putting myself through that. I tried to explain it to our child, but they are young and simply don't understand. All they see is their father doing the best he can to care for his mother. Our son loves his grandmother to pieces also. I am at a breaking point because this past Christmas, my kid told me they hate the fact we cannot be with Dad. X had our kid on Christmas Eve, and for Christmas last year, I wanted to take our kid to see my side of the family. Our child was rude to my family, throwing tantrums and generally being a little jerk, sorry to say. I hate this. Edit. I apologize for the poorly written post. I was not in a great headspace. I am considering giving my ex full custody, not the other way around. I know I cannot provide the same life my ex could for our child. My mother-in-law has early onset dementia. I apologize for not spelling it out. He pays for care for safety and with prompting and cueing. Yes, my mother-in-law does help with our child, but she is also always supervised. If not by my ex, then by her aide. My husband has money, but he is not super wealthy, and he will not be able to sustain the cost of care in the long run. And sure, maybe I am weak, but I know myself that if I took the wait-and-see approach, I would have stuck with it for years to come, because I am a sucker like that. My ex was fully aware of where I stood with this, and I know no compromises exist in these kinds of situations. Often one has to live with it before one knows one cannot handle it. I was not going to stay and become the one expected to solve the problems because I lived this. No one on his side of the family has experience with dementia. They would not listen to someone with experience, that in the long run, it is better putting them in a home early than waiting until later. My ex especially did not want to listen. I know you cannot argue with people who have made up their minds when it comes to this. So yes, I filed for divorce. I also do not regret leaving. I do regret that my years away from work pretty much mean I am starting at the bottom, and I also regret that with my income, I cannot provide the same quality of life, which is why I'm considering giving full custody to my ex. On the same token, I know long-term he will not be able to maintain the cost of being a father and paying for disease. This is where the conflict comes into play. Sure, I did file because he moved his mother in, but these are not assumptions. My fears are what happens to nearly every family that tries to take on this burden at home. It is not a matter of if, but when. I lived it once and don't want to live it again. The problem is, if I leave, I am putting our child in a similar situation, which is also why I was against him bringing his mother. Yes, I did not qualify for spousal support because I have a valid degree since people keep harping on it. My word choice was poor. What I meant to say was what was given was simply not enough to maintain the same quality of life our son had when we were married. And I cannot provide the same quality of life my ex can for our child because I have to work. I can't be home with our child during my 2 weeks like my husband can. This is a fact because I have to work, not a complaint that I have to work, just a product. I don't know what I'm going to do going forward. But yeah. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If you think letting your husband have full custody is in the child's best interest, do it. If this situation was reversed, nobody would think anything about it. When people give you crap about it, as they inevitably will do, just keep repeating, it was the best decision for my child. But if it is not in his best interest, keep doing what you're doing and continue to give him much love and patience. I would definitely be as truthful as possible about the situation in an age-appropriate way. The older he gets, the more truth he can handle. Comment 2. This whole discussion is so interesting to me. All the Asians reading this are thinking, of course you're the jerk. Nobody wants to take care of parents. We do it because it's the right thing to do in our cultures. The abandonment of the elderly, when not unwarranted by abuse or their abandonment, is so baffling. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the situation with my ex, our kid, and the whole mess with his mom moving in. It's been a month since I last posted, and let me tell you, things have gone from bad to worse. So remember how I said my ex was blaming me for the split, telling our kid that I didn't want to help grandma? Well, that's been eating at me, and I've been trying to find a way to explain to our 6-year-old why things are the way they are without sounding like the bad guy. It's tough because at that age, they just see things in black and white, you know? Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, my ex had to go out of town for a work thing, and guess who got called in to help with grandma? Yep, me. Despite our history in the divorce, I couldn't say no because at the end of the day, she's still family, and I didn't want our kid to see me turn my back on her. But it was exactly what I was afraid of. I was back in that caregiver role I swore I'd never return to. It was just for a weekend, but it was a glimpse into the life I left, and it was as hard as I remembered. My ex's mom, bless her heart, she's not the same person she used to be. She needs constant supervision, and even with the aid there, it's a full-time job. I was exhausted by the end of it, and it just reinforced that I made the right decision for myself. But here's the kicker. When my ex came back, he found out I'd been helping out, and he took it as a sign that I was ready to come back and be a family again. He started talking about how we could work things out, how he missed me, and how our kid would be so happy. It was like he completely forgot why we got divorced in the first place. I had to shut that down real quick. I reminded him that nothing has changed, that I can't be the primary caregiver for his mom, and that's not what I want for my life. He didn't take it well, and we had a huge fight right in front of our kid, which I hate. Our kid was crying, asking why mommy and daddy were yelling, and it broke my heart. On top of all that, my job situation hasn't improved. I'm still at the bottom of the ladder, working long hours for not much pay. It's a far cry from the life I had when I was married, and it's tough to see my kid notice the difference. They've made comments about how daddy's house is nicer and how they get to do more fun stuff with him because he can afford it. It's gotten to the point where I'm seriously considering giving my ex full custody. I never thought I'd be in this position, but I want what's best for our kid. And if that means they're better off with him, then maybe that's the decision I have to make. It's not about giving up. It's about being realistic about what I can provide. But here's the misunderstanding that's got everyone talking. My ex's sister saw me at their house helping with their mom and assumed I was moving back in. She told the whole family, and now they're all thinking we're reconciling. My phone has been blowing up with messages from relatives congratulating me on coming to my senses. I had to set the record straight, tell them that nothing's changed. I was just helping out for a weekend, but the rumor mill had already done its damage. And now there's this awkward tension in the family because they think I'm leading my ex on or something. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Trying to figure out what's best for my kid, dealing with the fallout from a weekend of playing caregiver, and now navigating a family who thinks I'm getting back together with my ex. It's a mess, and I'm just trying to keep my head above water. Sister's ex tries to wreck her new life, so I step in. I protect our niece and nephew, but the twisted truth hits hard. 5 years ago, my 38-year-old sister separated from her ex-husband and came out as gay. While she was married, my sister had 2 children, a 10-year-old niece and a 7-year-old nephew. The family was supportive of her and tried to understand her choices over the next 4 years as best they could. Shortly after coming out, my sister had an affair with a married mom at my niece's school that ended poorly and resulted in my niece switching schools. After a few months, my sister started her first serious relationship with a woman, Sherry. Sherry has a daughter named Jess who is a year younger than my niece. During the almost year-long relationship, my niece would refer to Jess as their sister and Jess would call me uncle. Until, that is, Sherry broke things off, sending my sister into a depressive spiral. But not wanting to be alone, 4 months later my sister became the 3rd partner in a polyamorous relationship with a husband and wife who also had 2 daughters. This relationship lasted close to 2 years, during which the couple and their daughters moved into my sister's home. As before, my niece and nephew were encouraged to refer to the couple's daughters as their sisters, and the girls would occasionally refer to me as Uncle. A year into the relationship, the husband of the couple left. 6 months later, my sister began speaking with Sherry again, which resulted in my sister breaking things off with her partner and evicting her and her daughters from her home within 6 months. Shortly after, she began seeing Sherry again. Now we come to today. Sherry and Jess have lived with my sister for possibly 8 months, and my sister has proposed to Sherry, who said yes. While the years I've outlined above have been messy and have had a profound negative impact on my niece and nephew, I'm overall happy for my sister. Sherry makes her happy. And while we definitely don't see eye to eye on a number of topics, we get along well by simply not discussing them. Just before Christmas, my niece and nephew came over to visit with their grandmother. Afterwards, my wife sent them a Christmas card addressed to just the two of them, thanking them for the visit. When it arrived, I received a text from my sister saying, "We received the Christmas card in the mail today. How come no one else but nephew and niece were addressed? My family consists of more than just them." I responded simply that it wasn't meant for anyone else and was addressed accordingly. Since then, I've spoken with my sister on the topic and asked what had prompted her question. As I expected, she said that Sherry and her daughter are a part of her family now, whether you like it or not, and that I can't treat Jess differently than my niece and nephew. I explained that while I think Sherry and Jess are great and would include them in events and the like, Jess is a part of my sister's family, but not mine. I would buy birthday and holiday gifts for my niece and nephew, but not Jess. I mentioned that it's no different than her poly partner's daughters not being my nieces, but was told that this is different because Jess doesn't have any other family. Her father is apparently not involved in her life much. I responded that while that's sad, it's also not my problem to fix. 2 last points of context. 1, my sister and I are not especially close, and I generally only see her at family gatherings. I rarely see Sherry and Jess at all. The only time this issue will ever bubble up is minute 2. My mother has acquiesced to my sister's demand and buys Jess gifts anytime she buys them for my niece and nephew. She's explained to me that she's done so to keep the peace and avoid losing access to the kids. Am I the idiot here? Is step-uncle a role I should be taking on in this scenario? Edit. I wanted to thank everyone on all sides for the feedback, especially a few of the Pila. You're the idiot folks that posed great questions I hadn't considered before. While I'm still not prepared to consider Jess my niece, I do believe that can change once it's proven Sherry and my sister are permanent. I'll also need time to actually get to know Jess, as right now I could count the number of times we've met on 2 hands. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So once they are married, they will be a blended family, just like if your sister married a man with a child. Would you still say that the child is not your family? I get that you don't agree with how your sister lives her life. I'm referring more to how she seemed to not consider how moving people in and out of her house with her son and daughter had to be stressful for them. I understand, but don't you think that Jess might be feeling a little lost as well? When they are married, I encourage you to try and adjust your perspective. After all, nothing bad will come from showing kindness to a child, and it might even do the family good. Comment 2. Everyone sucks here besides the niece, nephew, and Jess. I can't believe all these people saying that's not the not the idiot. Jess is just a kid. Everyone is saying OP has been through so much. Really? No, those kids have been through a lot through no fault of their own. Not sure what he loses by extending a little kindness to a little girl who's done nothing wrong and has called you uncle. You're the idiot for punishing a little girl because you don't approve of your sister's lifestyle. Also, addressing a Christmas card to 2 children in a household seems deliberate and childish in my opinion. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a month since my last post about my sister, her engagement to Sherry, and the whole family dynamic issue. Well, buckle up because things have taken some turns, and I'm back with an update that's got more twists than a pretzel factory. First off, let's talk about the heartbreak. Remember how my sister proposed to Sherry and everything seemed like it was heading towards a happily ever after? Yeah, not so much. Turns out, Sherry was still in contact with her ex-husband, and not just for co-parenting reasons. My sister found out when she overheard a phone call that was definitely not about their daughter's school project. It was a full-blown emotional affair, and my sister was devastated. She confronted Sherry, and it was a mess. There were tears, shouting, and a lot of hurt feelings. Sherry tried to explain, but my sister wasn't having any of it. She felt betrayed, and honestly, I can't blame her. The engagement is off, and Sherry and Jess moved out. Now let's rewind a bit to give you some context on Sherry's ex. He's always been this shadowy figure in the background. My sister mentioned him in passing, but I never met the guy. Apparently, he was the love of Sherry's life, but things didn't work out. They shared custody of Jess, and from what I've gathered, he was a decent dad, just not a great husband. But it seems like Sherry never really got over him, and that's what led to the whole secret calls and emotional affair. Back to the present, my sister is once again in a dark place. She's been leaning on me a bit more, which is new for us. We've had some deep conversations, and I've gotten to know her on a level I never did before. It's strange how crisis can bring people together. I've been supporting her through this, trying to be a good brother, but it's tough seeing her so hurt. Now, about my niece and nephew. They're confused and upset. They've been through so much change in the past few years, and now Jess, who they were starting to see as a sister, is suddenly gone. They don't understand why Sherry and Jess had to leave, and my sister is struggling to explain it to them without getting into the messy details. Remember the Christmas card incident? Well, it seems trivial now, but it did spark a conversation between my sister and me about family and what that means. We've agreed to disagree on some points, but I've been making an effort to be more inclusive within my comfort zone. I sent Jess a card to let her know I'm thinking of her. It's a small step, but it felt right. As for my mom, she's been a rock for my sister. She's also heartbroken about the whole situation. She had grown fond of Sherry and Jess, and now she's trying to navigate this new reality while keeping the family together. She's been great with my niece and nephew, giving them extra love and attention during this time. Now, here's a twist I didn't see coming. The husband from the polyamorous relationship my sister was in, he reached out to her after he heard about the breakup. Not in a romantic way, just as a friend. But it's been causing some tension because his ex-wife, my sister's former partner, isn't too happy about it. She feels like he's meddling in things that don't concern him. My sister's been polite but distant with him. She's not interested in rekindling anything there. She's got enough on her plate. So to answer the question I posed last time, am I a step-uncle? Well, it's complicated. I'm trying to be there for my niece and nephew, and if Jess is a part of their lives in the future, I'll reassess. But for now, I'm focusing on supporting my sister and being the best uncle I can be to the kids. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.